And you know, the total tax, the money is gonna be coming in $890,000 a year. Plus, we're getting $16,000 a month from the cannabis.
Letter and show
16 times 12.
pictures.
And then we're getting the gross receipt tax from the state at something like $2 million a year. They started the budget out at $3.3 million. They're down to 100.
Good morning, Commissioner. And second of all, if you turn off your cell phones, at least so the ringers don't go off during the meeting, we'd appreciate that. If you would like to speak for or against a case, if you would go over and see Eileen and sign in, we would appreciate it. It makes the meeting go much faster, and that's helpful to everyone in attendance. Eileen, you want to call the roll, please?
Commissioner Zarges,
Here.
Commissioner Herrera,
Here.
Commissioner Montañez,
Here.
Commissioner Lear,
Here.
Commissioner Castañeda, Commissioner Acosta,
Present by phone?
Chair Zerniak.
Here. Are there any changes to the agenda? I have one. Yeah, I have one. So can I get a motion to approve the agenda with the change that I'm going to make?
I'll move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Are there any changes to the minutes of November 10th, 2022? Hearing none, I'll hear a motion to approve, please.
Move the approval of the minutes for November 10, 2022.
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Aye.
Same sign. Thank you. My change is this, I have one announcement, real quick. Janine? So the first case is SU 22-035.
Good morning, Commissioners. Just wait for Eileen to swear me in.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Albert Casillas, 845 North Motel Boulevard.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. For our first case today, I got notified this morning that the applicant wishes to withdraw. She did submit a statement, and for the record, I'm gonna go ahead and read her statement here, dated today. And this is from Carl and Kelly Corper. We are respectfully withdrawing our SUP application as we clearly see that it would be too expensive for us to bring the barn building to commercial occupancy code to start. We understand and respect the county code's staff recommendations and are grateful for the time spent to hear our case. We have gone through a very difficult period with 3 commercial spaces rented in town and trying to help and fulfill needs of friends, family, and athletes in the community during a very challenging period for all with COVID illnesses and government responses and limitations, but understand the need to completely end barn commercial activity. Thank you for bearing with us. So this is their letter to withdraw today's case.
Okay.
And I understand there are members here of the public, even though the case is withdrawn, I don't know if they want to make a statement. The applicant's not here today, so.
Did they give you any indication that they might come back at a later date?
I didn't get that from our conversation this morning.
Can we?
Wait a second, wait a minute. Steve? Yeah, if you want to speak, you have to come up front.
Good morning. Can you
Morning.
please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Enrique Salas. I'm from 2701 Monk Court in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I have been doing business consultation with.
Wait.
Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
Yes,
Thank you.
I apologize. I've been doing business consultation with this company, Built Sports Performance. This is the first I'm hearing of this withdrawal, but I'm happy to take the message on their behalf.
I don't think there's any questions. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, of course. All right. Thank you guys so much.
So
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Susan Brown, 2980 Applejack Lane in Las Cruces. I'm a neighbor of the Corpers.
Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
Well, I submitted a letter which detailed our objections to a business in the neighborhood. And my concern now is that their business is going to continue. They have a home occupation license that they violated the conditions of. That hasn't been canceled. They have a court date coming up for a petty misdemeanor of not having a building permit. I just don't want this whole thing to get dropped and we're back to square one and they're conducting their activities like they have been for the last 3 to 4 years. It's a bother to the neighborhood.
It's beyond our authority of the planning commission. We have no authority. That's enforcement.
And if we have complaints about that, well, who do we talk to?
Albert? Who should she talk to? I mean, number one, I would talk to your county commissioner. Okay, that's the first person I would talk to.
And I wrote a letter. It's been
No, I would-
2 years ago.
I'd get him on the phone. I'd even meet him here in his office or her office and sit down and speak to them. But Albert, who's the appropriate authority?
For the zoning issues, it would be me. And then, of course, I mean, you've already been dealing with Kevin Apalaca, our code enforcement
Yeah,
officer.
I mean, he's never spoken to me. He's never initiated one conversation with me.
And also, Christina Ainsworth, our director, she's also fully aware of the case, so.
So they can just keep doing what they're doing?
No, I mean, today was the hearing for a commercial gym on their property, and that's been withdrawn, so there's going to be no action taken in that matter. So basically, that means that they can have a commercial gym on the property.
If it, my suggestion would be if it continues, I would, were you the ones documenting?
Yes.
Continue to document. And in the meantime, I would speak to the Director of Community Development, Christine. This is an issue of taking it up, right? So you got the county manager, but the county commissioner is the one that's most responsible. And knowing Christine as well as I do, she'll get something done. And she's also certified in terms of building permits, so she knows exactly what can be done about this. And if you haven't spoken to her, I would, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. I think we're on to case number, is it Z22-014? Yeah. What? Steve?
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Charlene Santisteban, 845 North Motel Boulevard.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
This case is for a zone change and a special use permit for a solar facility. It's a Mesa Vista Solar LLC. The owner is Cruces Investment Properties, and the applicant is Select Row Lori Moore. It's located at North Jornada Road and Peachtree Hills Road, east of Las Cruces. There's going from a D2 medium density residential to a T2 rural. This is the location map. And it's 4 separate parcels that they're getting the zone change on. And this is the aerial photo. The site plan. The zoning map. The black area is the city limits, so they're in between city limits. And the blue is federal and state land. So they're surrounded by D1 and D2 properties. The project is comprised of single-axis tracking system that will slowly move east to west through the day, tracking the sun. The auxiliary electrical distribution equipment with the project includes inverters that convert the PV-generated electricity from DC to AC power and equipment to connect to the utility distribution system. The entire project premises will be contained within a 7 to 8 foot fence with locked gates and appropriate signage to prevent trespassing. Per New Mexico Public Regulation Commission, the solar programs promote participation in renewable energy with the passage of the Community Solar Act of SB 84, signed into law in April 2021 by Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. This is the aerial of the area. And this is Peachtree Hills. And this is facing east. And this is the frontage of Peachtree Hills. It's a dirt road, it's bumpy, and it has a 65-foot right-of-way easement. And it's in the county, it belongs to the county. And it's supposed to be upgraded. It's on the list to be upgraded in the end of 2024. And this is facing west, facing north, and this is south. There's a subdivision owned by Thurston on the back. You can barely see the tops of the housing units. And the frontage is with with 2-acre lots, 1-acre lots with mobile homes and stuff on there. And this is North Jornada Road, and Mesa Vista Middle School is right down the road from the property.
So which way is this facing?
It's facing north.
And where is the subject property relative to this?
It's east. So, and that building right there is multifamily. It's apartments. Yeah, the school's on the other side of those apartments. Yes. The zone change evaluation, the duties of Planning and Zoning Commission, well, you know that. General notification requirements, there were 52 letters of notification that were mailed to property owners within the area on November 15th, 2022. 2 emails were received in opposition, and you have those letters. Legal ads were placed in Las Cruces Sun News on November 13th, 2022. Signs were posted on the property in a timely manner. An agenda posted on the DAC website. And these are the signs. The first one is on Peachtree Hills, and the other one is on North Jornada Road, as it's noted on the tickers on there. And this is the area of notification, and it did reach into that subdivision on the south. Decisional criteria. No homes are being proposed. The population, there will be no impact on population, no impact on the demographics. Potential There will be traffic generated during the construction and delivery of materials and equipment and construction workers. After construction, there will be minimal travel to a site of 1 to 2 trips per month for operation and maintenance. The proposed solar project is neither commercial nor residential. It's an unstaffed utility. It will not affect existing commercial or residential activity. Portable water will be brought in for construction and a portable toilet for the construction phase. There is no existing infrastructure. The applicant has completed a cultural survey and resource plan attached as Exhibit D in your application packet. If the site is selected, the applicant will submit documentation to any discovered endangered or rare species of animal or plant life. The proposed project will be situated on vacant land, rural vacant land. Surrounding land uses are single-family residential, multifamily residential, and Mesa Middle School, as well as the vacant land to the west and north, T2 rural, and is a transit zone and is in harmony with the residential zoned properties of D1, D1L, and D2 low to medium residential zones. As a national, the best management practices as a national developer of social facilities, the applicant has developed and implements best practices for all their facilities during construction and then operation of the facility. Cypress Creek Land Holdings LLC has a lease agreement for the 4 parcels totaling 122.99 acres. The proposed project will be situated on rural vacant land, and I've already addressed this. The comprehensive plan, strategy 1, to guide future developments, ensure regulations support the plan regulations, to update and support appropriate physical structures. Strategy 2 is broaden economic opportunity, which a renewable source of energy is broadening economic and bringing economic opportunity to the county. And prioritize infrastructure planning and investment. It's a green infrastructure, and it's energy, and it's a renewable energy. All of this is from the comp plan. The decisional criteria. Zone change is a T2 zoning. A change in conditions with the passage of SB 84 for community solar facilities requires a zone change to an industrial zone or a T2 with a special use permit. Currently, the only use zone allowing a renewable energy facility is a I1 light industrial zone. Staff believes that a transit zone such as the T2 with a special use permit would be more appropriate for the requested use since the T2 is low-density residential and allows for a minimum lot of 2 acres. The SUP will only allow the proposed solar facility, requiring a new application for any future expansion. Failure to change the zoning would deprive the owner of some economically feasible development of a passive use that encourages economic development and utility affordability for county residents. Number 7 is not applicable. Capital expenditure, there's no capital expenditure by the county. There is no effect to the major thoroughfares or a collector. It's not considered strip zoning and spot zoning. Staff believes a T2 rural with a special use permit is appropriate while retaining rural large lot residential zoned property compatible with surrounding land uses. A review of surrounding land uses are single-family residential, multifamily residential, Mesa Middle School, as well as vacant land to the west and north. And the city limits of Las Cruces surround and bound the property on the east and west. Findings: the property is outside of any incorporated municipal zoning authority is within Doña Ana County. The request of the application is consistent with the requirements of the UDC. The zone change request for T2 does satisfy decisional criteria. The zone change to a T2 district would not be considered spot zoning, as the proposed zoning is in harmony with the surrounding area. The zone change will not be in significant conflict with the comprehensive plan. Based on the findings of fact, staff analysis, and agency comments, staff recommends approval of case Z2214, a zone change on a 122.99 acre parcel from D2 medium density residential zone to a T2 rural zoning district for a 57.79 acre community solar generating facility to be known as Mesa Vista Solar. I'm going into the special use permit that's tied to this case. The decisional criteria, it generates traffic during construction and delivery, and minimal traffic when the construction is done. No residential or commercial is being proposed. There is no existing infrastructure on the property. The existing infrastructure on the property and the project site will not require any new infrastructure. The environmental impacts, the applicant will submit additional documentation to a discovery endangered or rare species of animal or plant life. There will not be any significant impacts on surrounding properties with a passive use of the property. Implementation of best practices in installation of a 7 to 8 foot chain link fence surrounding the facility. Solar panels will not increase impervious surface of the property. The project will require minimal grading to prepare the site. Final erosion and sediment control design will maintain overland drainage patterns post-construction. SWPPP will be submitted at the permitting stage. No lights will be on site. The project site will be remotely monitored 24 hours a day by the applicant. Findings of properties outside of any incorporated municipal zoning authority. The request of this applicant is consistent with the requirements of the UDC. The request for a special use permit does satisfy decisional criteria. The special use permit is the request for community solar will benefit the community by increasing the availability of community affordability for a solar utility and will capitalize upon the region's solar energy resources. Roadways, this is a comment from the fire department. The roadway needs to show that it can hold apparatus of 75,000 pounds and that there are adequate turnarounds for emergency personnel reflected from the 2015 International Fire Code, Chapter 5, Section 503.6. Staff recommendations. Applicant shall obtain approval of a zone change, case number Z22014, in order for this SUP to be approved. A chain link fence 7 to 8 feet high shall be constructed around the perimeter of the facility. A remediation and decommissioning plan shall be submitted at the time of the building permit submittal. The plan shall include the following: the anticipated means and costs of removing the solar facility, provisions of the removal of all structures and foundations, and removal of all electrical transmission components. PV modules will be disconnected, collected, and disposed of. All above ground electrical interconnections will be collected and disposed.
Wait, Can you go back to that for a minute? The item that says provisions for the removal of all structures and a soundly based plan ensuring financial resources will be available. What does that mean?
Well, we don't have a code right now that makes them have a bond or anything to decommission the plan. We're putting it in here as a means of probably trying to enforce that in the future.
Let me, Christine, can I ask you a question? I know we haven't done this before, but this statement implies that they're going to have to submit a plan to show how they're going to remove the structures or make financing available. Is it possible for us to make, as a requirement of the special use permit, that they obtain a bond?
I mean, I don't see why it would not be appropriate if that's the commission's will.
I mean, I'm trying to think 25 years out into the future. This company could be sold, all kinds of things could change. The company could go bankrupt for all we know. And then the community's left holding the bag with this community facility sitting there. And it seems to me, and I think we talked about this before, that it would be appropriate as a condition of the special use permit that we require them to obtain a bond that would demonstrate the financial ability to cover the cost of removal of those facilities.
Mr. Chair, the only obstacle I see to that is that it's a lengthy time frame, and the bonds that we typically associate with development projects are for a year or two, and they have to be renewed. And I think, if we're looking at a 20-year time frame, one, it would be, incumbent on that applicant to ensure that they renew that bond. But if they become insolvent, then that bond would probably be null and void anyway. This is an issue that we're going to have to deal with at some point in the future, and it's not unwise to consider that at this point. We definitely, as the technology changes and time elapses, we may be looking at these solar fields in a different way. But right now, this is, the information that we have is what we need to use to go by. And I think by putting these types of conditions on the special use permit, we are demonstrating that we're looking ahead to potentially remediate these situations in the future.
So if a developer wants to put in a subdivision, and it's going to take them 10 years to complete the subdivision, including the final build-out of infrastructure, they obtain a bond for that. And would the bond run for 10 years?
Typically not. Usually what happens is it's rare that somebody would file a final plat for a development that's going to take 10 years.
Right.
Typically, they'll do a preliminary plat, which gives them authority to move forward with the infrastructure development. But they're not required to put up a bond unless they want to record that final subdivision plat before the infrastructure is complete. So typically when we see somebody submitting a bond as a financial guarantee, they have a smaller chunk of a larger preliminary plat that they request a final plat for that. They want to be ready to sell lots and start building pretty quickly. So they will, at that point, submit a financial guarantee so that they can complete the infrastructure while the plat has already been filed. And those are typically for anywhere from a year to 18 months. When they're in that much of a hurry, then they plan to complete it fast. They don't submit a financial guarantee for a project that's going to take more than a year or two.
Okay, go ahead, Charlene. Sorry to interrupt you.
It's okay. Chain link fence and gates shall be removed. Galvanized steel PV module support and racking systems shall be removed. Concrete foundations shall be removed. AC and DC wiring that can be disconnected and removed. On-site power lines, power poles, and medium voltage wiring will be removed, and reseeding the vegetation layer where impacts occurred. And I'm done with my presentation.
Questions or comments? comments?
Mr. Chair, I would just, the only comment I would really make to your, to your bond question and quite a bit of your suggestions on bond I've agreed with, especially in our last discussion during commission input, is that as this evolves and we're starting to see quite a few more cases involving solar farms, and I would definitely want to recommend a work session discussion. And the reason why is the bond requirement, and this is just in my opinion, would have to stay consistent with, I don't want to say every case we have regarding solar, potentially for every solar case that might go over a certain amount of acreage, or depending on the size. But I do believe that there would need to be some consistency established with bond requirements. But I am in agreement with the overall bond discussion in these type of cases.
In addition to that, they're submitting applications, but they're pulling only 40 solar projects statewide. So there's no guarantee that this case will be, or any of the cases will be submitted or chosen for the solar facility. They're just getting ready in case that happens, so. Okay.
So Charlene, why are they asking for a zone change on 122 acres when the special use permit only applies to 57 acres?
It wasn't elaborated in the application that they submitted, but the applicant may have more information on that.
Okay, we'll ask them. Anybody else? Okay, let's hear from the applicant, please.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Lori Moy, 36110 South Osprey Drive, Oracle, Arizona.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Lori Moy. I'm the agent for this project, and thank you for the opportunity to present the community solar project to you. I have a colleague that is Zooming in or WebExing in that has a PowerPoint presentation I'd like to walk you through. Does someone know how to there we go. Terrific. As you're aware, we're seeking a special use permit to construct a Mesa Vista solar facility. I'm sorry, John, next slide. It does not change the underlying requested zoning of D2. The special use permit remains in place as long as the facility is operating as a solar facility. John, next slide. I'm sure you've heard this 100 times already because I think I'm the last applicant coming in on this. You know about the Community Solar Act, SB 84. The program was designed to allow communities, household businesses that don't have access to solar for a variety of reasons to have access. They have asked that required that 30% of the electricity is reserved for low-income customers and low-income service organizations. I've been asked before, well, what happens when you get to your 70% of private applications and it stops, as you probably are well or know, that 30% has got to remain. As Charlene said, January, the PRC has a third party that will be reviewing all of the applications, and hopefully a decision will be made by March. There are only 40 applications that will be considered in this round, which means that a decision will be made in 2023. Everybody is hoping to then start construction in 2023 and then move forward, and then hopefully they will renew this program for another round, and then the applications that are in the queue already will be considered and we can move forward. Go ahead, John. As Charlene has said, this is the location of the site. The property is vacant. There are existing electric distribution lines in the area, and that will be the path for the solar energy generated to leave the property and into the local grid. And as you're aware, the electric distribution power lines serve homes and businesses, and they're the smaller scale electric lines that are seen everywhere. The access to the property is planned to be taken from Peachtree Hill Road. Next slide, please. This is the site plan. As you can see, the property, the long property is, does not have any solar on it at this time. We've asked the entire parcel to be zoned appropriately because we will be replatting and making this one parcel. And it makes sense to have constant zoning on one parcel. The panels will be in rows and they track the sun from the east to the west. Next slide, please. It's a 5 megawatt solar facility. The station is operated remotely. There'll be no permanent employees on site. We have planned to put an 8-foot security chain link fence with an additional 1 foot of 3 strands of barbed wire, which will surround the solar array and the components. Access will be controlled. The best mechanism is rain. However, if we don't get rain, there is a organic cleaning compound that would be brought in and used to clean the panels. The station is operated remotely. There's a locked access gate to the property. The property will be fenced for safety reasons to protect both the public and the electric equipment. There will be limited traffic to the site after construction. The cost of the project is estimated to be $9 million. Next slide, please. This is an example of the tracking solar system. Obviously, the sun doesn't move quite that fast. The panels go flat at night or when they are not producing energy. Next slide, please. I call this a cartoon. This is a cartoon of what the solar panels look like. The posts are driven directly into the ground. The rack is attached to the post. The solar panels are attached to the rack. At its fullest extension, it's 6 feet 8 inches, about the size of a, I'm going to say today, an average basketball player. And they do rotate. You can see the range of motion on it. Next slide, please. You know, the benefits of the project, as I'm sure everyone has told you, is adding renewable energy to the New Mexico local grid for the benefit of local citizens, increasing renewable energy opportunities in New Mexico, and creation of temporary construction jobs for the area. The project will be paying ad valorem taxes, and we anticipate the temporary jobs will be 20. With that, I will stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes, just a couple of questions. The developmental impact, I've been wanting to ask this to a couple of applicants. I pay attention, I drive by the, there's a solar facility right at the, right where I-10 and I-25 meet. I drive by it every other day. You don't see any real grading and grubbing happening there. A lot of that vegetation is still there. Is it necessary to, you know, grade? Is grading and grubbing necessary in a facility like yours?
No, it's not. What they'll do is they'll take a look at the topography and see what has to be graded. At the very beginning, when I started permitting solar fields back in 2010, it was scorched earth. They came in and they graded everything. And now what they've discovered is they don't really need to do that. You know, they will make access roads around the facility and perhaps through the facility. But now they go in and they put the poles in and attach the racks, and they will leave the vegetation. They will maintain the vegetation so it doesn't interfere with the solar panel. But now they're encouraging vegetation. One of the things that Cypress Creek, which is the owner of this facility, likes to do is to put in pollinator plants. They encourage bees and butterflies and what have you to come back into the solar field. So they're very interested in increasing that type of vegetation.
I appreciate you sharing this. And again, the reason I asked, we have had concerned neighboring residents who worry about the developmental impact, and so that's very helpful. The second question I have, and again, this is just out of general curiosity, is you brought up the temporary jobs from the time of groundbreaking to completion. How long do they normally stay employed?
It can be up to 9 months.
Okay.
It just depends on how quickly it moves and getting materials and that sort of
It's about
thing.
the time of a general construction project.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Frank? Yes.
Yes, ma'am, you mentioned chemicals to clean the solar panels. Are these chemicals, have they been tested in the field as to not to pollute the groundwater or the ground itself?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner, yes, they have. They're organic materials, and they don't impact the environment at all. And they have been tested, and they're used regularly on solar fields across the country.
Okay, and that's good. How about for wildlife impact? You said you want to do planting for bees and trees and whatnot, but will that chemical affect any of the reproduction of the wildlife in the area?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, no, it will not.
Anybody else?
One more question. And Mr. Chair, you asked, what are the plans for the remaining acreage? That you're looking at about another 60 some odd acres that you'll still have there.
It is my understanding that that will be used for a staging area for the construction of the solar, and then that'll be reseeded as it's disturbed. And then they'll hold it and wait and see. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, wait. I have two questions, but one goes to staff. So do you have any idea what it would cost to remove this facility in today's dollars?
I can tell you that in other projects that I've permitted for this company, they're saying $83,000. They're not opposed to putting up a bond if you like, but as Christine said, that this is a 30-year project. And I have a quote from them about decommissioning. And basically what they're saying is that the value of the materials that are put into the solar field, the racks, the panels, the everything, the electrical, that far exceeds any decommissioning costs. So there are organizations established nationally, I was unaware of this, but I'm learning about it, that now will recycle these materials. So they're anxious to get their hands on them, to recycle the materials that are in the panels, the electrical wiring and what have you. So the cost of decommissioning as opposed to the value of the recycling, it's, much higher value.
But the county wouldn't benefit from the recycling, the company would. Right? I mean, if the company, let's say at the end of 30 years, the technology is so obsolete that the company decides to remove it as part of the agreement. They take it off, they sell it to a recycler, the company gets the money. And so everybody's fine, everybody's whole. But my question is about the risk to the county. And what I'm wondering is, and I need to ask Charlene. Charlene, where was the thing about the financial plan? Was that one of the recommendations of the special use permit?
Yes, it is.
And where is that?
Mr. Chair, I believe it was in the conditions of
Yes, it
approval.
is. It's in the conditions of the special use permit.
Trying to find it. Do you have it?
It's on page 104.
Which bullet? I don't see it.
I don't think it is there.
Can you
No, it
bring it
isn't.
back up on the screen? I mean, I was on the screen, but I don't see it as part of these recommendations. Ms. Moy, don't go away.
Here's the remediation plan. Anticipated means and costs of removing the solar facilities, but it doesn't state anything in there that, the amount or anything like that.
No, I'm trying to see these are different. What you have here and what we have printed is different. Mediation. I'm going to let you resolve this issue between the two, but on this, ensuring financial resources will be available to fully decommission the site. What I'm going to recommend is this, and I'd like your comment about this. Christine stated the problem with the bond, and the bond is basically an insurance plan that you buy. I'm just wondering if the company would be opposed to creating an escrow account that they would fund annually that after 30 years would equal the decommissioning amount. If you're going to decommission it anyway, you have to spend that money to decommission. So that money wouldn't necessarily go to the county, but if in the meantime the company goes bankrupt, there's some funds there for the county to use to decommission that site. And if it's, let's say in 30 years, well, if we use present dollars, if we use the 83,000, let's say make it $100,000. Over 30 years, that might be $3,000 a year to fund that thing. So at some small level, I don't think $3,000 for a $9 million facility is very much. And I don't think that would add that much to the bill of the company. I'm just wondering if the company would consider that, setting up an escrow account.
Mr. Chair, I can take this back to the company, but I am sure, I feel confident that they will work with whoever in the county we need to work with to either establish a bond or establish an escrow account.
Okay.
Whatever the legal requirement would be. By legal, I mean what works best for both parties. I'm confident that the applicant would be willing to do that.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Are there any other comments or questions from commission? Is there
Mr.
anyone?
Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Acosta.
Dr. Zeniak, it's just only my opinion, okay? And there's some of us that have been here for quite a long time. Anyway, I believe, this is just my opinion. We have empirical historical data to the south portion of the county, and I think Janine knows what I'm talking about. There's been bond issues out there. I'm not mentioning names or subdivisions, anything like that. I'm just saying that here we are discussing bond issues, and at the same time, on roads, and I'll leave it at that. There's been many discussions on bond issues for remediation of soil, finances for the developer or whatever, right? But the thing is that we would maybe, we don't want to, I don't think we want to get to being arbitrary and capricious for some and not for the others, right? And I think the director can guide us on that. There's been other solar farms that have been approved, right? And so how do we get horses back in the gate? In other words, I don't want to open up a bucket of worms and then wrap our cord around the axle and come to a complete halt. I would like to see that the businesses that come into Doña County are allowed a fair discussion, and they're amicable with the things that we need to discuss. And so maybe down the line, we may need to consult with legal regarding some of these issues to resolve the matter once and for all.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Ms. Moy. Is
Thank
there
you.
anyone here in opposition or in support of the application? Excuse me.
I have one.
Okay.
Michelle Ellen. Good morning. If you can please state your name and address for the record.
Michelle Allen, 5123 Kensington Way.
Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
I've never done this before, but I felt very compelled to come and ask that you oppose the solar farm going in. I am very much a supporter of renewable energies and solar farms, but I'm not too keen on having them really close to my backyard. I did have some concerns. I was told there will be no wind turbines, but I am curious with the way the solar panels move, will there be any type of noise or tone, what's called a pure tone, which is a pure pressure disturbance that fluctuates, or a sound composed of a single frequency? Like one solar panel may not make noise, but I don't know how many there are going to be, but more than one could make a loud noise that we can hear, from my backyard is part of the buffer zone, and that's why I was notified. So I have behind me the properties that they refer to as trailer homes and mobile homes, but these are homes that belong to people, and they have this beautiful site across across from their house, and you're going to be putting in solar farms, and I just am concerned about the community, how it will affect the beauty of the landscape. We're known for the land of enchantment. I just moved into my house, so I have concerns about the property values, what will happen. Let's see, and I do have concerns about, like what you have been saying, what happens if the company goes out of business? What will happen to the solar panels, and how will they be disposed of? Also, I was concerned about the wildlife and the environment. And I have questions about, I know I was told Mesa Grande Road will not be utilized, but once you get past Peachtree, will there be any type of improvements on Mesa Grande? I understand that Peachtree is a private road and is the responsibility of those homeowners along that road to be improved. I also, we're talking about these solar farms, and you're going to be putting up these 6 to 8 foot chain link fences, which also is an eyesore, in my opinion, to this beautiful landscape. And I don't know if I said this already, I'm curious as to how the housing prices will be affected. I just moved into my home. I am actually a native of Las Cruces, but I just moved into this particular home, and I chose it because it was in such a wide open area, and I had no idea that there was a possibility that there was a solar farm that was possibly going to be built just on the other side of the property. So I'm concerned, will there be, I know they said there's no light, but I am still concerned about that. I just have a lot of concerns about this. It doesn't seem that the company is really has no regard for the residents around it. The way everybody talked about it, well, there's this multifamily apartment complex. Well, they don't need to look at anything pretty. And then there's this school and then we've got these mobile homes. And I just think that we are being discounted. Our area is being discounted, and just because somebody lives in a mobile home doesn't mean that they have to look out across their street and see a field of solar panels for the next 30 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to comment? You're welcome to, absolutely.
Yes. Ms. Allen submitted a number of questions that I'm sure you have a copy of her letter, and I have a response to every question if you would like me to address it. And we appreciate Ms. Allen taking the time to submit these questions and to thoughtfully think about how will this impact her. The first question was, will there be any wind turbines? And the answer is no. This is a solar developer. There will be only solar panels. She asked about noise. Will there be any detectable noise? She referred to it as a pure tone. The facility's inverters and transformers produce a sound when operating during the peak power production, typically between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. At 150 feet, this sound is inaudible above the natural ambient noise in rural areas. The sound created by the inverter during the peak power production is typically in the range of 65 decibels, 65 at a distance of 30 feet, which is equivalent to the sound created in normal conversations, if you're familiar with decibels. The rest of the facility equipment does not produce any audible sound, and no sound is produced at night. Will there be any detectable light at night? And the answer is no, there will not be. Solar panels are designed to absorb the light and not to reflect it. To assist in light observation, each panel is treated with anti-reflective coating, and naturally occurring ponds and streams, snow, even certain kinds of soil and vegetation are similarly reflective as the solar panels. Will there be any structures over 1 story? As I said, our structures are 6 feet 8 inches tall, and there will be no structure or equipment over 12 feet at the project site. As you're aware, 12 feet is the height of a typical single-story home. What will happen to the solar waste at the end of the solar panels? Modulars have a typical lifespan of 25 years. Decommissioning is not expected to occur until after 30 years from the facility being construction. And as I'd said, the salvage value meets or exceeds the cost of decommissioning, and solar reclamation firm will collect the modulars for recycling, the inverters for refurbishing, and the hardware for salvage. And then the land will be reseeded with a local seed mix and can be repurposed for agricultural other users. How will the solar farm impact environment and wildlife? The clearing and use of large areas of land can adverse native vegetation. As we discussed earlier, we're not going to be doing large clearing. We'll just work on the roads and where the panels are going to go. The proposed project site has been thoroughly surveyed and analyzed for environmental constraints. Our qualified consultants we were able to determine the most sensitive resources that are located on the property, and we will avoid those. And the preliminary site design fully avoids those resources, and we will fence off those areas so that they're not driven on during construction, and there are no panels planned to go on that. We have done extensive studies and analysis. There was nothing found, but once you get into construction, there's always a treasure or two that shows up, and we certainly will pay attention to those, and we'll be handling it as required by the state. As Charlene indicated, we have a stormwater pollution prevention plan that will be in place for any stormwater controls and runoff. Safety concerns, her question was causing injury or death. Well, we will fence this off. We will have an access gate to protect the public and, of course, the equipment inside. The solar farms are constructed under the oversight of local and state building and electrical codes. And we do that, and we work with the fire department to have access, and we work with them on appropriate measures if there's a fire. What routes, streets, roads will be utilized to bring in the equipment, that will be analyzed if the site is approved. And we will take a hard look at the roads prior to construction, and the engineering and construction teams will determine which routes are best suitable depending on the truck size. And during construction, the dirt roads will be wet down to keep dust down, which is a standard development procedure. And how will this affect neighborhood traffic? During the construction period, 2 to 15 personal cars and 1 to 10 trucks will visit the site per day. Upon completion of the facility installation, no more than 4 vehicles are expected to visit the site on a quarterly basis. So there will be minimal traffic after construction, and the construction traffic is typical of any development.
One question, that
Yes.
your access point would come from Jornada Road, would it not? Or it would come from Peachtree?
Peachtree, yes. That's the plan today, to come from Peachtree.
So there would be no access point other than on any road?
No,
other than
there'll only be one.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. She was concerned about solar panels across from family homes. They're sited and designed to avoid and minimize visual contractor impacts and avoid siting them in designated required view sheds or designated view sheds. And they'll use various techniques with planting, vegetative screening, and that sort of thing. The Peachtree, as Charlene indicated, is a 65-foot wide right-of-way. And then we are set back, our first panel is set back 95 feet from the property line. So that's a ways away from a house, any house. And then she asked about housing prices will be affected. There are a number of utility scale, which are much larger than this, solar facilities being developed across the country right now. And there have been appraisals done on homes that are adjacent to large scale and the small scale solar facilities in a number of states. And there has been no impact on the property values of the homes around the existing and proposed solar facilities. And the reason is it doesn't create any emissions, it's quiet, and they don't result in any impacts that could impact property value. And then she asked, how long will this be in operation? The solar farm has an average lifespan of 35 years. And those are the answers to her questions. I'll stand for any other.
Mr. Chair, just one question. You Maynard or staff, and is any portion of Peachtree Hills city maintained?
Just a portion where the city is, but Peachtree Hills does belong to the county, and they are going to, it's up for construction or improvement late of 2024. So, yes, and it does belong to the county.
Okay, anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one more comment. Yes. Barbed wire is not allowed in the county. And you stated that there would be barbed wire above the chain link fence. That is not allowed.
So what's allowed?
The chain link fence. No barbed wire.
Mr. Chair, that's fine.
Okay.
We'll just put up and if you will include that, if you could include that in your conditions, we'll just have a chain link fence with no barbed wire on the top.
Okay, thank you. So Charlene, under this one recommendation about a soundly based plan ensuring financial resources will be available, would you explore with the company, I don't know who negotiates this, but explore in terms of the contents to ensure that a full discussion of escrow accounts and bonds are included, and how those might be funded?
Okay.
Okay, so that, we'll make that part of the recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anything else you want to add? Okay.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, just, a couple of concerns here. The Mesa Grande traffic, that's definitely a concern that's still a city-maintained road. And from what is understood out there, I actually have a short-term rental that I maintain out there. I know this area very well. You will be seeing quite a bit of new development there. I know the city of Las Cruces just approved a pretty good size park out there. There's some multifamily. That's going to be developed. I believe your concerns as far as real estate impacts, you're going to see a bigger impact on new development, in my opinion, than you will on this solar facility that's actually a pretty good distance away from you, unless you're facing unless you're in the part of Kensington that's facing north. And even then, you still have almost a buffer, if you will, of residential directly north of you. And you're trying to preserve that. I think you are going to have there's still quite a bit of desert landscape there that will still be preserved. And we do, just to address some of these concerns. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'll entertain a motion on Z22-014. Okay.
Mr. Zargis, can you turn your mic on?
Sorry. Based on findings of fact and staff analysis and energy and agency comments, I'd move approval of case Z 22-014, a zone change on 122.99 acres from D2 medium intensity zone to T2 rural zone district for a 57.79 acre solar generating facility to be known as the Mesa Vista Community Solar Project.
Second? Free? Thank you. Eileen, did you get Commissioner Herrera's second?
Yes.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Herrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Zargis,
Yes.
Commissioner Montañez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lear,
Yes.
Commissioner Acosta,
Yes.
Chair Zerniak.
Yes. On case SU 22-032, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion based on the findings of fact, staff analysis, and agency comments, and I would move that we approve the conditional approval of case SU 22-032 to allow a 57.79 acre solar generating facility to be known as Mesa Vista Community Solar Project with the conditions as they are laid out in the staff recommendation.
In my addition.
And the addition by our chair. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Can we get a little clarity on the addition?
where it says soundly based plan ensuring financial resources will be available to fully decommission the site, including a discussion of how the company might fund an escrow account or a bond.
Right.
Okay? I need a second.
Second.
Eileen, will you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Lear,
Yes.
Commissioner Montañez,
Yes.
Commissioner Herrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Zarges,
Yes.
Commissioner Acosta,
Yes.
Chair Zerniak.
Aye. The zoning change and the SUP are approved. Thank you. We'll move on to case Z22-015.
Good morning. Can
Good
you please
morning.
state your name and address for the record?
Charlene Santisteban, 845 North Motel Boulevard, Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and Commission, we are on agenda item Z22015 and a special use permit for the project 22033. The owner is Tierra de Doniana LLC. The applicant is Select Lori Moy. The location is west of I-10, southwest corner of East Oregon Road and Stern Drive in the Bracito area. The zoning is a T3 neighborhood edge, and they want to go to a T2 rule. The zone change, oh, I have this wrong. It is not for, it's one parcel of 133.33 acres from a T3 to a T2 within a special use permit for a facility known as Suez Community Solar. This is the location map, and there's Interstate 10 right there. This is the area. This is the site plan. And this is the zoning map. It's surrounded by T3 zone, which is the transit zone. The proposed project is comprised of a single-axis tracking system that will slowly move from east to west through the day, tracking the sun. The entire project premises will be contained within a 7 to 8 foot fence. Per New Mexico regulation, the SB Solar Act was signed into law in April 2021 by Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. This is the land use map. It's comprised of a lot of vacant land. This is the frontage along Stern Drive of the property. This is East Oregon Road facing south. This is north, and this is taken from Harper Road. And this is west on East Oregon Road. The zone change evaluation requirements, the duties of Planning and Zoning Commission can hear this case. The zoning regulations, 25 letters of notification were mailed to the property owners within the area of the notice on November 15th, 2022. One email was received in opposition and one in support. Legal ads were placed in the Las Cruces Sun News on November 13th, and signs were posted on the property in a timely manner. Agenda posted on the DAC website. These are the signage on the property. One was taken near Harper Road and the other one was on East Oregon Road. This is the area of notification. This is the decisional criteria. There are no homes being proposed, no impact to population, no large impact to demographics. The traffic will be generated during construction and after construction, 1 to 2 trips per month. No need for, it's an unstaffed utility. It will not affect existing commercial or residential activity. The project will not require any new facilities. A portable toilet will be brought in and water will be trucked in. There is no existing infrastructure capabilities proposed. The environmental accessibility, the applicant has completed a cultural survey and resource plan, Exhibit D in your application packet. If the site is selected, the applicant will submit a documentation to any discovered endangered or rare species or plant life. The proposed project is situated on rural vacant land located in a remote area away from public areas. The developer of the solar facilities and the applicant has developed and implements best practices for all of their facilities. Dogwood Creek Holding Land Companies has a real estate purchase and sale agreement for the 131.33 acres. The proposed project would be situated on rural vacant land, and it is Zone T3, and it's adjacent to Stern Drive, which is the frontage road, and Interstate 10 to the east. It's large tracts of vacant land on the north and south, and T2 is a transit zone with a 2-acre lot minimum for solar generating facilities. This is a comprehensive plan, Strategy 1, Strategy 2, and Strategy 3 of the comp plan. Energy and renewable energy are in the appendix of the comp plan. The decisional criteria for Miller, the zone change is a T2 zoning, a change of conditions with the passage of SB 84 for community solar facilities requires a zone change to an industrial zone or a T2 rule with a special use permit. Currently, the only use zone allowing for renewable energy is an I1. Staff believes that a T2 zone, low-density residential, and with a special use permit is the best zone for a community solar project. Failure to change the zoning would deprive the owner of some economically feasible development of a passive use that encourages economic development and utility affordability for county residents. The county is not an applicant, so it's not applicable. The proposed change does not require capital expenditures by the county. The applicant is proposing a passive commercial use of a utility, and it is not multifamily or industrial. Staff believes that T2 zone is the best zone with a special use permit. Findings: the property is outside of any incorporated municipal zoning authority. The request of the application is consistent with the UDC. The zone change for T2 does satisfy the decision criteria. The zone change to a T2 district is not considered a spot zone. And it is in accordance with the comp plan. Based on the findings of fact, staff analysis, and agency comments, staff recommends approval of a Z22015 for a zone change on 131.33 acres parcel from a T3 to a T2 zoning district for a 77.33 acre community solar generating facility to be known as Suez Community Solar Project. And we're going into the special use permit.
Charlene, can you go back to the zoning map for a minute? Is the T2 to the north of this, is that a solar project?
No, but there's going to be one that's proposed. We got an application for that also. That's coming up.
Is that an existing T2?
No.
Chair, Albert Casillas for the record. You might recall that was probably one of the first ones that we had come in a couple months back. Our zoning map has already been updated with that T2 designation. So it's one that's in the works, and basically they're in line like just any other applicant awaiting, to see what happens at the state level if they're selected.
We did approve that.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair, I was not aware of that.
All right.
This is for the special use permit. There's no traffic will be generated during construction. No need for commercial, industrial, residential activity is being proposed. There's no existing infrastructure on the property. Portable water and toilets will be brought in. There is no existing infrastructure on the property. The applicant has completed a cultural survey and resource plan and will accommodate and make changes for endangered species or rare plant and animal life. There will be no significant impact to the surrounding properties. Implementation of best practices for the development, installation of a 7 to 8 foot fence. Solar panels will not increase impervious surface. Final erosion E&S design will be maintained overland for drainage patterns post-construction. An SWPPP will be filed at the building permitting stage, and no lighting will be on site. The project will be remotely monitored. Findings of fact: the property is outside of any incorporated municipal zoning authority. The application is consistent with the requirements of the UDC. The request for a special use permit does satisfy the UDC criteria. The special use permit is in harmony with surrounding areas. The size of the development is appropriate for the area, and there will be benefit to the community by increasing the availability of community affordability for a solar utility and capitalizing the region's solar energy resources. Development adjoins the Apache Lateral. No objections to this development as long as district facilities, EBID, is not used for parallel ingress, egress, access, fence off, or encroached upon, or used in any way that is detrimental to the EBID district. Direct access to Stern Drive shall be by permit only from New Mexico DOT District 1 office. Agency reviews, comments. This is from the fire department. The roadway needs to show that it can hold an apparatus of 75,000 pounds. Stern Drive, Harper Road, and East Oregon Road are paved, and they are county roads. This is for the SUP. This is for the staff recommendations, and this was already discussed in our prior case. The applicant shall obtain approval of zone change of Z22015 for the SUP to be allowed. The chain link fence 7 to 8 feet high, and a remediation decommissioning plan shall be submitted at the time of the building permit submittal. And I believe you want the same conditions put on as the prior case. This is the end of my presentation.
Questions?
One question, does, or maybe the applicant can answer, is there any intent to, for an access point from Stern Drive?
I do not know.
Okay, I'll ask the applicant. Thank you very much, Brenda, or Charlene.
Ms. Moy?
John, are you there? Let's board them with the same PowerPoint.
While you're waiting, why don't you answer Commissioner?
Yeah, that was really our only question here is, do you intend to seek an access point from Stern, directly from Stern Drive?
Harper Road,
Just from Harper, okay.
yes. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Harper Road.
All right.
All right, here we go again. I'm still Lori Moy. I'm agent for this project, and thank you again for the opportunity. Oh,
Arlene, you
I have to swear in again?
New case.
Sorry.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Lori Moy, 30610 South Osprey Drive, Oracle, Arizona.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Once again, I'm still Lori Moy, an agent for this project, and thank you for the opportunity to present same PowerPoint slide. So we'll move through it quickly. You know that we're requesting a zoning of T2. It does, I don't know why it says T3, but it does. It's T2. Next slide. You know about the Community Solar Act. Next slide. This is the site that is proposed. The property is vacant. There are existing electric distribution lines. to take the power generated out of the site, and the access is planned to be taken from Harper Road. Next slide. The parent parcel is 31.33 acres. The development area is 77.33. Panels will be in rows and track the sun from east to west. There were a number of sites found on this particular parcel. Nothing significant, but we're going to avoid them anyway. And that's why you see sort of an interesting configuration of the solar panels, because we're avoiding the sites and the drainage. Next slide. 5 megawatts. The station will be operated remotely, no permanent employees on site, and we will eliminate the 3 strands of barbed wire. So it'll be an 8-foot security. Access is controlled. The station is operated remotely. They monitor the panels. There is a locked access gate to the property. It's fenced for safety reasons to protect both the public and the electrical equipment. There's going to be limited traffic to the site after construction. And again, the cost of this project is estimated to be $9 million. Next slide. Solar tracking design, it rotates following the sun. The panels go flat at night or when energy is not being produced. Next slide, please. Solar tracker cartoons, it's still 6 feet 8 inches high at the tallest point, and you can see the range of motion tracking the sun. Next slide, please. We're adding renewable energy to the New Mexico local distribution grid for the benefit of local citizens, increasing renewable energy opportunities in New Mexico, and creation of temporary construction jobs for the area. The project will be paying ad valorem taxes, and again, the temporary jobs are 20. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
So the barbed wire,
Gone.
good.
Yes.
Is an 8-foot fence allowed?
Chain link?
Chain link?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Chair, please. Yes, Mr. Chair. I want to ask the applicant, just because there's a couple of concerns here I've never really seen addressed before. Can you address the possibility of asbestos in your solar panels? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, what I'd like to do is I have a response to Ms. Hiles'
Thank you.
questions, and if I could read them into the record. She wanted to know, Ms. Hiles wanted to know the manufacturer and type of solar panels to be used along with the breakdown of panel materials. Cypress Creek at this point does not know the exact manufacturing company that will supply Suez Solar LLC at this time. They use several solar PV technologies, crystalline silicone, which is C-SI, and thin film, which is TF. Each type of technology uses slightly different materials, but they work identically and are of similar construction. They are anticipating using the crystalline silicone for this project. Crystalline silicone modules are produced by sourcing extremely high-quality pure silicone or quartz. The silicone is heated until it melts, after which a crystal is grown from a source ingot. The silicone crystal is sliced into thin wafers mounted onto a durable backing material encapsulated by tempered glass and an aluminum frame. The thin film solar modules are made by depositing thin film photovoltaic materials onto crystal layers that are bonded to tempered glass, after which the module is encapsulated by an aluminum frame. Once finished, the solar panel functions as a solid-state inert crystal, most similar to a pane of solid glass. The solar panels are expected to work up to upwards of 40 years before they are recycled to recover the valuable materials contained inside. Encapsulation of the modules prevents penetration of air and moisture from entering the cell, and conversely prevents the release of materials out of the module and into the environment. She asked about precipitation. I'm just going to go through her.
Actually, and also if you can, this does get addressed with other applicants as well, really is a plan for runoff or a drainage plan. In this case, it doesn't seem that one would be, I don't want to say necessary, but I do know that that's a plan that you have as well. But that's another concern I've never heard before.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, I believe the Flood Commission had a comment on this, and the applicant will work with the Flood Commission to incorporate any necessary safety measures prior to development to ensure the safety of the community and the project.
Thank you. And this, I might be calling on you in the future really for, just a small crash course in these materials. Is this a standard, are these standard materials that this crystalline silicone material that's being used in solar panels? Are you seeing that in the majority of the solar farms that that are being constructed out there?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, absolutely. Okay. The solar technology is becoming more and more sophisticated. I can tell you a quick story. When I started permitting these sites back 100 years ago, it feels like at this point. And in the midst of permitting, the panels actually changed because the panel, the ability, the technology, the quality changed just in a brief, 3 or 4 month permitting period. So I know that the panels will continue to improve technology, and the silicone, the crystalline silicone is quite common across the country, yes.
Thank you.
She asked about poisons and carcinogens from solar panels seeping into groundwater. The generation of electricity from photovoltaic solar panels is safe and effective. According to the U.S. Department of Energy, few power generating technologies have as little environmental impact as PV solars. Because PV does not burn fossil fuels, they do not produce the toxic air or greenhouse gas emissions associated with conventional fossil fuel-fired generation technologies. Solar panels do not produce heat, emissions, or radiation. Solar panels do not emit electromagnetic radiation because they produce direct current, DC. Solar installations must have an inverter that converts DC current into an alternating AC so that it can be used by household devices or be fed into the grid. The project does not create any negative impacts on human health. All project materials and construction practices comply with respective safety protocols. Solar panels are designed and manufactured to withstand harsh environmental conditions and extreme weather events. These hardened structures protect the solar cells from the elements and support plans to keep the facility operating for 35 plus years. Therefore, the panels pose little risk of leaching during operation or during removal and disposal. In order to operate, the internal components of the modules must be protected from the elements, particularly moisture, in order to prevent corrosion and release of materials. Lastly, Cypress Creek has an operations and maintenance team that visit each solar site on a quarterly basis to ensure that sites are properly maintained from vegetation overgrowth and the panels are clean and undamaged.
Anything else?
Thank you. Ms. Moy, we do, on occasion, quite a few of the applicants do take the time to address concerns that they come to us and are also sent to you. We really do appreciate you taking the time to address these concerns. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Eileen, do you have anyone that's registered?
No, sir.
Thank you. So just a quick comment on the question about runoff. Seems to me there isn't, the amount of impervious area is negligible, right? So there isn't much runoff that isn't there already.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so are there any other questions or comments from commission? Okay.
Mr. Chair, excuse me. At this time, I'd like to just interrupt, and I'd like to personally congratulate Janine. A number of years ago, I was selected as Planner of the Year for the state of New Mexico. And that was quite an honor for me. And I just want to salute her as a professional planner because this is a huge honor. And the fact that she won it for the state, Western states, is an amazing honor for her and for Doña Ana County. So thank you very much, sir.
Thanks. So I'll hear a motion on Z22-015.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion. Based on the findings of fact, staff analysis, and agency comments, I move that we approve case number Z22-015, a zone change on a 131.33 acre parcel from a T2 zone from a T3 zone to a T2 zone district for a 77.33 acre solar generating facility to be known as the Suez Community Solar Project.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Eileen, roll, please.
Commissioner Acosta,
Yes.
Commissioner Lear,
Yes.
Commissioner Montañez,
Yes.
Commissioner Herrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Zarges,
Yes.
Chair Zerniak.
Yes. A motion on SU 22-0, excuse me, yeah, SU 22-033.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
based on findings of fact and staff analysis, as agency comments and testimony given today, I recommend conditional approval of case number SU 22-033 for 77.33 acre parcel, or acre solar generating facility to be known as the Suez Community Solar Project with the following, or with conditions, with conditions listed by staff.
And my addition.
And
Sorry.
and your additional condition. Again, just for clarity, can you please state that additional condition?
That the financial plan will have a full discussion of potential for escrow or a bond capacity to remove the facility. A second, please?
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Zarges seconded it. Eileen, the roll, please.
Commissioner Herrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Montañez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lear,
Yes.
Commissioner Zarges,
Yes.
Commissioner Acosta,
Yes.
Chair Zerniak.
Yes. The zone change and SUP both pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Case number V22-007.
Chair, before I move forward, do we need a break? Or,
Are we okay? I think we're all right.
okay.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Albert Casillas, 845 North Motel Boulevard.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, good morning, Commissioners. I just handed out some letters in support that were received after the fact. So this is in support of the applicant's variance request. The applicant is Mr. Francisco Rojas, who lives up on Highway 70 on 6335 Wagons East Trail. Zoning is D2L, and this variance is the wall height standards on a residential property. They're proposing an 8-foot rock wall on the rear property line, where 6 feet's the maximum allowed height on the rear. When we look at the location map, it's the property here within this subdivision. This is Highway 70, and we have Weisner Road right here. And that's just an aerial photo of the area. The property is 3/4 of an acre. It is part of the Wagons East subdivision. It's identified as lot number 5. The existing home was built in 2013. Access is from Wagons East Trail, which is county paved, and it's a 40-foot right-of-way. The applicant applied for the building permit back in August, and now he's just waiting on or pending the approval of this variance before moving forward with that. And here we have a close-up of the property. So that's the existing home. On here, this is going to be Wagons East. Behind the property, you're going to have Weisner Road. And I'll show you some pictures of the area coming up. The zoning map, when you look at it, it's pretty much, everything around the area, it's residential. And then, of course, as you get closer to Highway 70, then you have all your commercial and industrial uses. And area in gray over here, that's the city limits. Per the applicant's statement for the variance, he's stating that he needs the additional 2 feet of wall height to provide for more privacy, security, noise abatement coming from traffic off of Weisner. And just the concept plan that was also included on your packet, you basically have Weisner here on the rear. That's the Wagons East Trail. So I mean, it's not just the rear that he's building. He's pretty much going to build a wall all around his property. It's just the one that on the rear. That's the one that's exceeding the maximum height requirements. He's still allowed to do the 6-footer here on the sides and 4 feet on the front. As part of his submittal, the applicant did hire Mr. Ted Scanlon to come up with an engineered design, which is what's required for anything that's more than 6 feet. So I wanted to include that on there. Wagons East subdivision. So this is just a screenshot of lot number 5 on here. When the subdivision was approved, there were some lots that ended up having like a 20-foot drainage easement on the rear. So it just depended on the layout of the subdivision. But for lot number 5, the easements that are there, they're pretty minimal. These are all going to be 5-footers on the on the side property lines and on the rear. When the subdivision did get approved, they did have to give at least, I think it's about 23 feet of additional right-of-way that they had to give up for Weisner Road.
So, wait, back up. So the road is wider than what was originally to be intended, or the right-of-way is?
The right-of-way is there. So, I mean, well, without looking at I really can't tell, where, now Weisner lies. I mean, it is within its own right-of-way. And, we know where the property line is for the applicant. But what I'm saying is that when this was approved, they had to give additional right-of-way from the rear property line onto Weisner Road. Okay. And you'll see it right now on the photos. The other note that was included on, as part of the approval, when we look at note number 9, it does specifically say that state that all access, has to be from the internal road, which is Wagons East. So there's no access allowed off of Weisner Road, and that's note number 9 right there. We had a few letters go out, 23. Legal ads posted on the Sun News, and then in front of you, you have those some of the letters in favor that were submitted. This is a sign, or one of the signs that got posted on the property, but basically we're looking at it from the rear. So I'm standing here on Weisner, looking east onto the property. So this is the back side of the house. Those were the properties that were notified. And once again, here I'm standing on Weisner. So this would be the rear property line where the applicant wants to build the 8-foot rock wall, just a wall. Here's a picture from the front of the house. off of Wagons East. And right now, we're looking at Weisner, the existing conditions of Weisner Road. So you can kind of tell where just by looking at the surrounding areas where, those property lines lie currently. So here I'm standing kind of like in the middle of Weisner Road, looking into the applicant's property. And, you can kind of see that there's kind of like already like an entryway that the applicant uses to get into his property from Weisner. And there was a lot of, those like kind of like noonish, so there's going to be a lot of glare on here. I wanted to show this picture here. It's one of the neighbors from the probably like 2 or 3 houses down the road on Wagons East. So this is one of the rock wall permits that got approved like right before the UDC got adopted. Basically back then, there weren't really any height limitations. If you wanted to build anything more than 6 feet, you just had to submit your engineered drawing. In this case, from the information that I was able to pull from the building permit, the front wall here is 7 feet. That's the height. And then when you're looking at the side property line, it kind of goes, it basically surrounds the house. It's like a little compound, I guess, where it's all 7 feet. And then back here, it goes down to 6 feet tall on the rear. Some of the more recent rock walls that were approved, and this is now already under the UDC, this is on the entryway of Wagons Court, which connects with Wagons East. So this is right at the corner, and that one's at 6 feet on the rear. So this would be the rear right here.
That is a 6-foot rock wall?
Yeah. I didn't measure it, but I kind of like eyed it. It's a little bit taller than me, so. And that's just Wagons East Trail. So this is in front of the subject parcel, and then you can tell here that that's the 7-footer that we just saw right now. So on our findings, we got to look at section 207B. There's 4 decisional criteria that we got to look at. The first one being that it's not going to be a grant of special privilege, that it's not going to be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare. There's a physical hardship on the property, from either the shape or size of the parcel, existing structures, or any topographic or physical conditions on site, and that it can't be self-imposed. And also, and the last one being that it upholds the purpose and the intent of the UDC. So when dealing with whether it's a grant of special privilege, we saw the 7-footer that was built back in 2016. That's a 7-foot rock wall on the front and side property lines. The rest, the rear of the property, it's still at 6 feet. When we do a quick search on our system for building permits, we find out that the more recent ones under the UDC were approved at 6 feet tall. Whether it's going to be detrimental to the public health or safety, welfare, all the rock walls have been approved at current rock walls have been approved at 6 feet. There are some concerns from engineering on how it could affect the roadway, and they're stating that there is no access allowed from Weisner Road.
What's the concern?
Well, they wouldn't issue a driveway permit. They wouldn't issue a driveway permit off of Weisner.
But he's not asking for a driveway permit.
Well, if you look at the site plan, one of his design includes an entryway from Weisner Road. So that's why engineering is also adding that comment in there.
From the rear of the property.
From the rear of the property. Hardships, or whether or not it's self-imposed, the applicant stating that he needs the additional 2 feet of wall height to provide for privacy, security, and noise abatement from the proximity of Weisner Road. We saw from the pictures that there's really not much of a grade difference between Weisner and the rear of the property. They appear to be at the same level. an inspection of the property does not really reveal any topographic or physical conditions on site, that could be considered a hardship. So we are stating that this is a self-imposed hardship. We don't think it's going to uphold the spirit and intent of the UDC. Deviation from regulations such as allowing a rock wall at 8 feet in height in order to pursue a variance application where 6 feet of height is required does not meet the standards, and it undermines the spirit and intent of the UDC. So those are our findings. Basically, we don't believe that it fully meets the section 207B. We do believe it's a self-imposed hardship, and we don't believe that there's any physical conditions on site that would necessitate the additional 2 feet. We are recommending denial for case V22007. The applicant is here, and as well as Mr. Scanlon, the engineer, on record, and staff stands for questions.
Is that it?
That's it.
Questions for staff? I guess we should hear from the applicant.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
Can you
morning.
please state your name and address for the record?
My name is Francisco Rojas. I live at 6335 Wagons East Trails.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to let first Mr. Ted Scallon speak. He's a professional engineer that we hired to make sure that the wall is structurally sound in the back and also on the sides, because that's a requirement.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good morning. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
I'm sorry.
Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, it's Ted Scanlon, 2990 North Main Street.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Morning, Mr. Scanlon.
I need to beg your indulgence this morning because I suffer now from profound hearing loss. And one of these guys went out this morning. So I'm really kind of handicapped here, but we'll make it through. I do have some issues with staff's finding that I'd like to point out from our standpoint. And let me get to those. The staff states that they have concerns that an 8-foot rock wall will affect Wisner Road somehow. And I just don't understand how that would be the case. It's just 2 feet higher than the walls that are out there. And then the staff also stated that they think that the ground elevations are the same across this lot, and when in fact, it slopes from east to west about a little over 4 feet, 4 to 5 feet down to Wisner Road. So if you're standing at the house and you've got a 5-foot eye level, a 6-foot rock wall, you'd be looking over the top of it. So that's another thing that I take issue with. I don't see how it could possibly be detrimental to the health, safety, and welfare of anybody in the county to have an 8-foot rock wall back there. And that's really all I have this morning. I'll be happy to answer any questions if I can hear them.
Questions? Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Albert, what's the speed limit on Wisner?
didn't get a good view. I don't know if Mr. Rojas has an idea, but I thought I saw 35 miles an hour.
Mr. Rojas, can you come back up for just a second?
Yes.
Do people actually drive 35 miles per hour in Wisner?
No, they speed. So we actually have speeders. If you go past Wisner towards the end, you know where it ends on Jornada, there's like drive-by shootings there. We actually had like last summer, we had where like the cops, the SWAT team showed up and everything because someone went crazy over there, and I even saw the armored vehicles that the cops have. That lasted like for 45 minutes. And then basically Wisner, the traffic starts about 3 in the morning where there's a lot of contractors there. And because the next exit is Brahman, and then you have Moongate. All that area in the back, it's full of contractors. So we have diesels going through. If you want to go to Moongate, you go through Wisner, and then you go through the easement, the telephone poles, and then hit Moongate to get the shortcut. If from Wisner, if you go north, and if you want to go to Holman, you have to go all the way around to Moongate, then cross through the back through Sol del Cielo or something to get to Holman. So Wisner is really your only avenue. If you miss Brahman, so we get all the traffic, and then at night, we get people speeding, hauling ass. And then we have the guys that are contractors that have a lot of money. They have the lift-up trucks with the big wheels, light shows going on all night. So yeah.
So you know, this is an if we approve the variance, we're not approving the gate in the wall.
Well, we're gonna get to that because as the county specified, they say it's a driveway. I have a driveway in the front, and we could go back to his presentation. You'll see there's my main entrance. So in the back, it's called the service gate. It just got misrepresented by the county. Yeah, I already have about 100 foot of driveway in my front because my garage is sideways.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're gonna make a U. So let's go back. You see the gate axis right there? Let me get my pointer real quick. I don't know if you could see it, but the upper left-hand corner,
Right.
gate axis is for weed control. The county only cuts 4 foot, which leaves the other 17 foot for me to cut. Can you go back on this presentation? There's a picture that you have. Right, yeah, right there. So there's where your county, when the county comes in and cuts the grass, that's it, right there. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know how to show you to you. But where it says New Mexico, that's it. That's what they cut. So from there, all the way to the inside, how do you go to where the sign's at? Yeah, so where's the sign? Yeah, right there, go back. Yeah, so from there, all the way to that sign, I take care of all that property. So if I don't have a service gate in the back to go out and cut the weeds, I have to go all the way around the block to try and cut the weeds. And then I have to get a trailer, take my run extension cords, right? I'm gonna have to run extension cords to the 8-foot gate. I mean, without the gate, across the 8-foot fence, drop extension cords, take my lawnmower, cut the weeds, then go run all the way around the back to come and take the weeds out. Because they have to be maintained. If the county only does 3 feet, I gotta do the 17 foot. So
where will the rock wall be placed?
well, if we go back to the permit, it's gonna be 20 feet in.
So that's
Past the 5-foot easement at the county. So it's gonna be where it needs to be. So this here is your, well, this doesn't show you. So from here, my property line, down is 20 feet to get to Wisner. So we're not in the county easement. My property is along inside the easement. I could show, can you go back to another picture? Yeah, like where you have the full thing. Yeah, so, no, I guess, yeah, there, go back. Let me go to Yeah, so that's a property line, and so, for example, this blue line, that would be the inside of the easement. So from that blue line on 20 feet, then you hit Wisner. So we're not extending into the easement.
So the rock wall would be on the blue line.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, the rock wall and the service gates, I could get out and cut the weeds. We try and maintain clean the area and stuff, so it doesn't look too bad.
Okay. Let me talk to staff for a minute. Let me talk to staff. So Albert, what, the issue is he has, what is it, a collector? Is Wisner a collector?
It's probably a minor collector.
On his back property line. That's pretty unusual.
Yeah.
So he didn't create that problem. So what's the injury to public health and welfare? Safety, health and welfare to the county?
Well, like I said before, there's 4 decisional criteria, and you basically have to meet all of them.
Right.
I think for the health and safety, I mean, we were pretty much neutral, because we know that whether or not he gets the variance, whether it's 8 feet, 6 feet, or 4 feet, he's still going to need a building permit. So that in itself ensures that the wall will be compliant with the building code at least. And if it's at 8 feet, he already has the engineer to stamp, the drawings, which is required by code. So health and safety wise, we're pretty much neutral on that one. It's the rest of the other decisional criteria where staff believes that he doesn't meet that, or he doesn't meet those requirements.
So you do have a 7-foot wall pretty close to him on the front property line.
On the front property line.
Yeah, I do too, so. I mean, our next door neighbor has a 7-foot wall. We'll talk about that later. And the gate, that would actually conflict with the subdivision note from the ETZ, right?
That's correct. Yeah, they're basically saying that there's no access allowed. And let me go back to it just so we can. So under note number 9, it just says all lots must access internal road, no direct access to Wisner.
Oh, it's right there. So actually, that would be 2 variances. No, that doesn't violate county standards, does it? If a gate was put in there, that's just the subdivision plat that states that.
That's correct. Now we're kind of dealing more like in the lines of maybe like covenant issues or something like that. But I just wanted to point out that it is included as part of the plat when it was approved back when it was still under the ETZ. And for sure, engineering, they will not issue a driveway permit at all from there if that was the case. But the applicant we pretty much stated that it's just for weed control. When you look at the site plan drawing, it is being called out as a 16-foot wide gate as well. So that might be something else to consider.
So the concern there is that he might use that as access directly off of Wisner.
It could be. But I mean,
For a vehicle.
Yeah, but the applicant has already stated that he's just, using it for weed control and servicing, his back, the area behind his property line.
Well, let's go to the criteria for the variance. So do we have any other properties that have been granted, other than the 7-footer? Any other properties that have been granted a higher wall since the UDC's been put in place?
All the ones that I was able to find was just that 6-footer. And, I mean, there were like maybe like two that I pulled up for walls that included the rear property line. So there's other smaller ones that were approved that met the code, you know, like the little 4-footers or 3-footers up in the front. But like this one right here, like this one was probably one of the last ones that was done. And that one's at 6 feet tall.
And how close is that to Mr. Rojas' property?
Mr. Rojas, well, let me get that notification map. So that corner is right here. That's lot number 22, and that's Mr. Rojas right there. So he's about, three houses down. The walled-in property, that's this one right here, which is even closer.
Okay, so it would be a grant of special privilege because there's really nothing else like that in the neighborhood. It appears to be a physical hardship because of Wisner. I mean, the layout is kind of, and the other two, it doesn't seem to be injurious. I think that the width of that gate is a problem though, for me, because you don't want to have vehicles coming out at that point. I mean, I can see him drive a 4-foot gate to take a lawnmower off, but, or even a 5-foot gate if it's self-driving or a ride-on lawnmower. I don't know, any other questions or comments? Is there anyone, we do have letters in support.
Yes.
3 letters in support. And I guess one of the letters said that he was going to build a wall just like it. And no one signed up?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. I will entertain a motion, and the motion should be stated in the positive, please. Yes.
I haven't done my presentation yet.
Oh, please. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Can you put the presentation up?
I didn't know you had one.
Yeah, so the reason for the gate width is because I have a trailer in my truck. So the idea is to back up my trailer in the truck, cut all the weeds, throw them on the trailer, and then go out wagging these trails. So I would move it in reverse. Because remember, I'm missing one hand, so I got to accommodate as best as I can because I can't shovel very good.
You want to go down the arrows?
Yeah, no, okay, the arrows. So this is the signage, and my primary entrance to go inside my property and outside my property is through this area on wagging these trails. So I have enough room that I don't need to use Wisner as an entrance. And I have a pontoon boat, and I could go around my property while going through Wisner. So it's only a service gate. So I have a Dodge 1500 and a 12-foot trailer that will be backed up. Once I go out, I back it up, cut the weeds, and go out the front. It's not convenient to try and move my trailer and trucks that easy. So you've seen this already. This is TED stuff, so you've seen that. So this here is my neighbors so there's 4 letters that you received. And so the blues where I live, one letter is from my neighbor down here. The other letter is from my adjacent neighbor. And then this is Felipe. He's the one that's just building his house. And then this is another neighbor that also supported. So you should have 4 letters in support of the rock walls. So as together, us 4 neighbors are going to get together and we're all going to build similar rock walls. So it's harmonious and it's pleasant and it's going to look uniform. Currently on Wisner, so this is one of the letters. You see it's not detrimental there. The service gate's needed, and there's the physical hardship. This is the second letter from Dolores. I could go through it, or you guys can read it. You let me know. And so she's the one that's gonna start building her house. Her plot's currently in the design phase for the house. So this is my neighborette lives north. So she's already had where people have stolen stuff off her property. They had a diesel and people opened it up and stole stuff from the engine. So she wants to go build a rock wall. So all our properties will look the same once we're all done. And I'm the guinea pig for all this. Dolores, she's the one that's building up her house. This here's Felipe. He's the one that's building it. As he mentions here, there's a 3-foot slope on his property. He already added 330 tons of dirt just to make his house level due to the slope. This is my friend Ronnie. He was helping me, and we laser leveled. We checked the level with a laser at my house, and so we have the 4-foot drop. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. So before I started throwing dirt at my house, this here is 3 feet, and down here, from here to that point right there, that's a 3-foot drop. And that's before we added dirt to the house. So that's to get my house level. We added probably about 300-400 tons of dirt. That's what the guys did. And then this is after my house was built. I was trying to level out my land. So I also added 440 tons of dirt. So the Mr. Car Wash that's over there on Rinconada, that's half the hill at my house. And it turns out that after bringing all that dirt, it still didn't fill it up. So from here, this is at eye level on Weisner Road. This is a 3-foot mound that I have right now because I don't have a rock wall yet. But you can see my house is still up. So there's still a significant grade. So that's a physical hardship that was not brought on by myself. That's just all of us neighbors that are on that side of the road, we all have that same slope. And then this is a fortress right there. I had my daughter go measure it. It's actually 7'9". And this guy is above grade already. So he's not even below grade. So if you're on if you're on Wagons Trail, from here to the top of that wall, you're actually looking at about 5 feet. But just because he put on the permit, it might be 7 foot from there. As you could see, it slopes up. From there to there, it might be 7'9". But from Wagons Trails, it's much taller. That's a fortress. And this already exists on Weisner. You see, so the county just elected to show you specific pictures. But there's already gates. This has been there for a long time, even before I built my house. That's on Weisner. It's a rock wall, which is a little bit about 6.5 feet. And there's a metal gate right there. It doesn't get used very often, but gates exist. There's gates on our neighborhood that are metal gates. There's gates that are chain link fence gates on Weisner. There's gates that are 4-foot tubing on Weisner. In our neighborhood, we're not talking about the other half of the neighborhood. So there exists.
So you're saying people already have gates?
Yeah, they've been there for a long time. And even now, they've been putting in gates. But normally, people don't use it to go into Weisner. It's only like if you need to go clean up, like all that mess there. And so finally, I'm planning to put wrought iron fence in the front here. So I have a gate there. My driveway will be here. This is wrought iron fence, so it looks nice. And then the rock wall will be here. And this is just because of the elevation change. So from here to here, there's a 4-foot drop. And that's it. Thank you for your support.
So wait, don't go away. Is the 5-foot wall, is that okay? Or are we going to see him again? The front?
If he's offset a little bit from the front property line, he'll be fine.
Okay.
And then there's provisions of whether, if it's 4 foot and then he's got a foot of, then, where you can see through it, then that's also
Okay.
permitted.
Anybody? Questions, comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, based on findings of fact and testimony given today by staff and the applicant, I make a motion for approval, case number V 22-008.
Chair, 7.
Sorry, 007.
Yep. Second, please.
Second?
Any further discussion? Eileen, call a roll, please.
Commissioner Herrera,
Yes.
Commissioner Zargis,
No.
Commissioner Montañez,
Yes.
Commissioner Lear,
No.
Commissioner Acosta,
Yes.
Chair Zerniak.
No. Is that 4-2?
No, it's 3-3.
3-3, so it dies, the tie. Sorry, thank you. All right. Case V 22-008. Albert, do you need a minute to talk to Mr. Rojas?
Dr. Zerniak?
No, we're fine.
Okay. Commissioner Acosta?
Yes, in times past, when one votes no, what, are you supposed to state the reason why you voted no?
Yep. So we'll take a minute and do that. Commissioner Zargis, you hear what Mel said? When we vote no, we need to give a reason.
Okay, I guess my reason for voting no was the UDC calls out the sites, and well, I can appreciate, while one gentleman has a problem with access to his property, I can't see doing a variance that's going to affect the entire neighborhood like that. And basically, you've got 4 or 5 other people here that would also be putting up fences of 8 feet or something like that. So, I mean, we could look at redoing the UDC to allow the 8-foot fence, or we can leave it as it is. Since it is existing law and working, that's why I voted no.
It's pretty simple. It doesn't meet the 4-part criteria. And you have to meet all 4 items for a grant of a variance. I think there probably is a hardship, but that's the one thing that he meets. Who else voted no?
I voted no.
Dan?
For the same reasons. The combination of it going against the required, no more than 6 foot high, putting in a gate, and the, for the subdivision, there's some violations of some of the components of the subdivision rules. So that was the reason I voted no.
Yeah, I think Commissioner Zargis' reasoning is pretty sound, though, that once you give that variance, you're opening it up to the rest of the neighborhood. So that's problematic, too. Okay, thank you. Mel, thank you for reminding us. So case V 22-008. Mr. Hernandez.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Albert Casillas, 845 North Montiel Boulevard.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
She always gets me. All right. Commissioners, our last case today, it's a variance request to wall height standards. Applicant, or the property owner is Mr. Juan Hernandez. Properties at 1527 West Union, down here in, just down the road by Mesilla. The zoning is D1L. Currently, what's allowed for a front property line is 4 feet height. And the applicant's proposing to do a 6-foot rock wall. When we look at the location map, that's West Union right here. And then you have Avenida Mesilla. So it's pretty close to the town limits of Mesilla. Once again, that's just an aerial here of the area. It's basically, all along the frontage of Union, mostly you'll see single-family housing. You're going to have some agricultural fields along Union. And then, of course, on the rear, that's all, you might remember Dennis Smith. That's his property on the back. The property is 1 acre, D1L. The existing home was built back in 1976. Union is DOT paved right-of-way. And the applicant hasn't, he hasn't started construction or anything like that. He's just, submitting the variances to make sure that he's able to pursue the height that's desired. This one, because it's the front property line, it's a little bit different. Under the UDC, it does allow somebody to go, to get a 25% increase from the requirement. This is where, we're just talking about that right now, where if you're in the front and you want to go beyond the 4 feet that's allowed, you're allowed that additional foot if the material's not, solid, along its whole length. So if there's openings and, that kind of stuff, if they're using like wrought iron, then that's something that the applicant can apply. Also, if you're moving back the rock wall, 5 feet away from your front property line, then you're also allowed to go up to 5 feet. So those are, some of the items that are currently available for owners who want to go beyond the 4 feet that's currently allowed on the front property line. And this is just, something that, we hand out to customers. If somebody's doing a rock wall here on their front property line, they're only allowed to go up to 4 feet. And then this is where it's basically stating, okay, if you push it back, 5 feet into your property, then you're allowed to go up to 5 feet. Anything beyond the building setback area, then you can go up to 6 feet tall. So this is just kind of like a little cheat sheet, so people can have an idea of what's required. Here's a picture of how the property looks like right now. That's Union right here. This is the home that was built in the 1970s. They have a long driveway. So the house is pretty much set, towards the rear or in the middle of the property. This is the zoning map. So you basically have the limits of the town of Mesilla. Everything's pretty much D1, with the D2 on the rear. So the variance request, like I stated, is to go to 6 feet where 4 feet is required currently on the front property line. The applicant stating that the additional 2 feet, it's due to high noise, to keep their dogs and pets inside of the property and for security purposes. When we look at the survey, it's a little bit less than an acre, but they're basically just stating that they're going to be building on their front property line. And then just to note, there is an existing 4-foot wall right there. So they're basically adding to that wall. So currently right now, the wall height is at 4 feet. 22 letters were sent out. Legal ads were posted on the Sun News. Really, there was no correspondence received for this case, whether in favor or opposition. This is on one of the corners of the property. That's just a notification sign that was posted, and you can kind of see the current height of the wall. And those were the properties that were notified. Subject parcel, That's the existing home. And so when we're looking west on Union, that's the existing height. We see Union Street right here. Their driveway's located right about here.
No, oh wait, that is the subject parcel?
This is the subject parcel, and that's the existing rock wall. So they want to add 2 additional feet.
So do we know if that rock wall is engineered for a 6-foot wall?
No, for now, like I said, the applicant hasn't submitted a building permit yet.
If that wall is not built to add 2 feet, you have to tear this down.
Oh, no, they're going to have to, if it's approved, they're going to have to submit everything proving that, whether if they're just adding to that or they're tearing it down, all that's going to have to be addressed at the building permitting stage.
Okay.
And here's the subject property, and, of course, interestingly enough, when you're going up and down West Union, you're going to see other structures, that have been there for years, built without a permit or at a time where they weren't even required or built illegally. This one is at about, 6 feet tall. And that's just kind of like the surrounding areas. And when you're looking at the property immediately east, they have all this landscaping right in front of them, pretty much blocking the view from Union onto their property. We've already, talked about the findings and the criteria for variances. Can't be a special privilege, can't be detrimental to the public health or safety. There has to be a physical hardship, and it has to uphold the purpose and intent of this chapter. I want to talk a little bit about, finding number 1. And some of you might remember that about 2 years ago, we did have an applicant come in for a variance, and this was pretty much down the road, Mr. Najad at 1803. So he got a variance to allow a 6-foot rock wall on the front property line. He got approved. He got his building permit issued on August 21 of 2020. There are no other, recent records of other permits for rock walls in the area since then. That was the last one. The applicant's request, it's not going to constitute a grant of special privilege, as the variance has been recently approved for a 6-foot rock wall on the front property line. Similar walls at the height being proposed exist on properties in the vicinity that may have been in existence prior to the UDC. So it's, there are other, rock walls that have been there. But once again, keep in mind that for Mr. Najad, the circumstances might have been a little bit more different. And then just to, as a reminder, that lot was about a quarter of an acre. The house was built like in the, 60s or 70s, and it was about 10 feet away from the front property line. So, just keep that in mind where, the size of the parcel and existing structures did play a lot into that decision. Yeah. But there are rock walls nearby, this one more specifically. If the wall is approved, of course, it's going to require a building permit in order to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. So the applicant states that the need for the variance is to have additional security and noise abatement. We saw the photos, when we look at the property, we're not really seeing or finding any topographic or physical conditions on site that could be considered a hardship. We do believe this is self-imposed. The UDC already allows, it has some provisions for some flexibility when it comes to wall height. If they don't want to be at 4 feet, then they can build it at 5 feet, just leave some openings on there, or they can set the rock wall back, to get that 5 foot. Granting of the variance will uphold the spirit and intent. Similar walls at the height being proposed exist on properties in the vicinity. The applicant will obtain a building permit, and the wall will be consistent with designs of traditional and older adobe homes. So, our findings, once again, we do have 4 different findings. We just don't believe that, the applicant meets all all those, all of the findings involved. We know that there's a rock wall that was approved in 2020, but like I said, I mean, those circumstances were a little bit different than what's being proposed today. There will be if it's approved, whether it's 4 feet, 5 feet, or 6 feet, he will have to, apply for a building permit, and, go through all those requirements. Staff did not notice any hardships, from the property size or, any topographical conditions. We do believe that it is a self-imposed hardship. And, it's not going to be, if approved, it might be harmonious. There are other similar structures, that were probably built at a time where, rock walls weren't even required or they were built illegally. So out of the 4, we do stand by our decision to call this request a self-imposed hardship. So we are recommending denial of case B-22-008. We do have a representative here for the property owner, and he's ready to talk about this case and answer any questions as well.
Questions for staff? No. Let's hear from the applicant, okay?
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Rudy Romero, PO Box 815, Mesa Park, New Mexico.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, I don't have much to say other than he wants to keep the dogs inside, noise from coming in, and more than anything, security from people coming out. 4-foot wall is easy to jump over. 6'4" wall wouldn't be so easy. I mean, it's doable, but
What about the 5-foot wall?
I think it would still be fairly easy for somebody to jump a 5-foot wall. I really, personally, at 20 years ago, I guess I could do it, not anymore, but yeah, no doubt. But you get these 30-year-old kids or 20-year-old kids, and it would be easy for them to do that. Now, a 6-footer would be, you'd have to have somebody jump, pull you over more than anything else. So
Okay,
basically, that's all we got.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Chair, I have a question of
Yes.
Albert. You talked about a couple of options, one being moving back 5 feet, then it could go to 5 feet, but also extending the current one using basically maybe like metal or something that you could see through. How high can that be if you do it that way?
If it's going to be at the front property line, it's 5 feet as well.
Okay, so either where it exists or even if the max would be 5 feet.
The difference is that if you want to do it where it's currently located, that extra foot has to be see-through. It can't be solid. If you move it 5 feet back, then that could just be of a solid
Okay.
material.
All right, thank you.
I think there was actually a discussion with the sheriff's department that influenced that when we were doing the UDC. That they want to be able to see in as well as see out. Okay. Eileen, is there anybody on the list?
No, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion, comments, questions? I'll entertain a motion. Yes, sir.
Here about 6-8 months ago, I guess I did pull a permit for another, but it's a block wall down the street. And I'm gonna be in the back of mind that it was a 6-foot wall on the same Union Street.
Do you remember what the address was?
No, I came unprepared for all this, so, but I did pull a permit for a block wall down the street, and I keep thinking it was a 6-footer too.
We haven't done any variances on Union, have we? Other than the one that you mentioned earlier. Yeah, I remember that case. Yeah, he was right on the street. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we need a motion.
I guess. I'll move, based on the findings of fact in the request, I'll move approval of case V 22008 for the 6-foot rock wall.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Lear gave us a second. Any further discussion? Eileen, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Acosta,
Mel, are you with us?
Guess not.
Commissioner Acosta? Is he online?
It doesn't look like it.
well, there's two peeps. Looks like there's,
Is his phone? Mel, are you on mute? Let's go on.
Commissioner Lear.
Because the applicant has some options in how to achieve this, I'm going to vote no.
Commissioner Montañez. Commissioner Herrera. Commissioner Zargis.
No, for same reasons as Commissioner Lair.
Chair Zerniak.
I'll vote no. It doesn't meet the criteria. I don't think it's a self-imposed hardship at all. So that's 3-2. Even if Mel votes in favor of it, it'll be defeated. So the motion is defeated 3-2. Thank you. And Albert, you'll talk to Mr. Rojas in the back. I guess he still wants to speak to you. Is there any administrative approvals? I guess we have next.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. And if you can pull up the map, please, Billy. And it's also in your packet. It's the last page of the agenda packet. But for the month of October, we issued 21 new single-family residentials, which are depicted in yellow in the map, and there were 3 commercial permits, which are issued in blue. And what are not mapped are the 21 additions to the single-family residential, and there were 12 additions to commercial. Plus, we had 9 mobile home installation permits issued in October. 8 of them were on private land, and 1 of them was in a mobile home park. And then we collected approximately $88,000 in permit fees. So.
Does that go into the general fund?
It does. And then for the commercial permits, I know Mel is always interested in this. We did issue one for a new auto parts store in the Valo area. And then south of that is a greenhouse on Opitz Road. And then moving north across, what is that, I-25? It's a metal building for industrial purposes on Las Alturas Drive. And I want to thank you, Commissioners, for voting me or nominating me for Citizen Planner of the Year. It was really a surprise. I had no idea. So I appreciate Dr. Zerniak and the chair taking the effort for that. And Dr. Zerniak and I go back to the early 80s, I believe, when I was a student at New Mexico State University. So I'm really honored. Thank you all.
Yep.
Eileen, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Sure. That one on Opitz, is it a greenhouse for cannabis, or is it a greenhouse just for flowers, plants, whatever?
You know, I don't know the specific facts, but you're going to check, Eileen? Okay. And I'm not even sure if that would be in the database. A greenhouse? Let me get you the address.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mel.
4511.
Well, congratulations, Janine. And I kind of was left out there. I think I just met you yesterday, right?
You mentioned yesterday?
A little joke, right? I guess we all go back all the way back, way back. Till we were at the old courthouse. So anyway, congratulations, and wish you a lot of success. Thank you so much for your service.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So to answer Commissioner Herrera, right now that building permit is for a shell only.
It'd be for what, I'm sorry?
It's for a shell only at the
Shell.
time.
The shell.
Shelf?
So that's just for the structure?
Just for the structure only right now. So whomever decides to go into that building will do a tentative tenant improvement.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other commission input?
Yeah, I have a question about the commercial one on Los Alturos. I thought that was a residential area there, and you said it was a metal building for industrial use?
Yes, it is zoned, according to this map, it is zoned I-1, and that's at 6265. Can you check that one also?
Yeah.
6265.
There's the firewood Mexican pottery place down there.
Oh, is it that far out there?
Yeah. It's
Oh,
below-
okay.
I think it's below that.
I was thinking of property closer to the golf course.
No, it's well south.
Okay.
If you're below the interchange, yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a few industrial zones.
Right, yeah, down in that area there is. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
One more question?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Eileen, has there been any talk about developer developing 2,000 acres in Chaparral that used to be the old Bowen Ranch? And the reason I ask is that there was some residents that called me, and they found out that there's a developer that was buying 2,000 acres from the old Bowen Ranch on the New Mexico side, which is Doña Ana County. And they were just concerned if it had gone through the county at all. I hadn't seen it, so I was going to ask that.
Chair, Commissioner Herrera, I remember it's been a while since I've heard about that project. I know it was something in the works, and I think that the main issue there was water rights. And I know property owners were fighting some of the water providers there in Chaparral, so they were still figuring all that. And I think it actually went to court. So I got a call from somebody from Desert Air not too long ago because of the same concerns, because they had heard that somebody was moving forward on a project, but so far we haven't seen anything. I haven't heard anything, and I'm talking I'm talking about at least 2-3 years, at least. This was back in a time where Steve Meadows was still working with us, so it's been quite a while.
Oh, that's a long time ago.
Already, yeah.
Thank you so much for that information.
But if something does come in, something of that magnitude will require town hall meetings,
right,
planning and zoning commission hearings, BLCC approvals and all that.
One more comment for me. On December the 5th, which was, I believe, Monday, New Mexico DOT had a meeting in Anthony at the Doña Ana Community Branch for the comments and presentation on the 404 widening project. I didn't go because it was my anniversary or our anniversary, so I couldn't go. So did anybody hear anything about that? Well, from what I understand, they're having another meeting in Chaparral for the Chaparral residents, not only for the widening project, but also for the reconstruction of the roundabout.
Oh.
There on 223 or whatever it is. And so I know Mel had asked staff to see if DOT would come and ask if we could hear from them because of future considerations on development on that stretch of road. Has anybody moved on that?
No, not yet, but it's a good thing that you're reminding me about that, because
So we've got two things. We've got the 404 widening, and then Commissioner Montañez's question about the escrow. Was that what it was? Escrow bonding? bond, to get somebody to talk to us about that and how we might do that. I think we need, if we're going to have these companies coming in asking about these solar projects, we got to figure out a way to do that.
So,
And in terms of, I think it was Mel's comment, whether we can, just a second, Mel, because we haven't imposed that on these other ones, whether we can impose the ones coming up. So that's a question for legal, okay? Mel, comment?
Yes. Follow up with Commissioner Herrera. I think I would suggest, well, I don't know. I would suggest that that the director would contact New Mexico DOT to give us an idea and a projected idea, and maybe they don't want to let the cat out of the bag, I don't know. But anyway, the belting between O'Hara Road, Highway 478, Highway 28, and all the way west, okay? I have heard many years back that was part of the belting, including the bypass at Love's Truck Stop all the way down to Santa Teresa, and they should let us know so we can accommodate things that need to be done in that area. The other one is we haven't heard anything from the railroad company on Santa Fe. Way back, there were several meetings in La Mesa, San Miguel, Mesquite, and all the way up there on a rail spur or whatever connecting north all the way south to the railroad exchange up there with Union Pacific. These are the projects that we should be looking at now to see how is it that they're going to be, if everybody's going to be able to get together so we can have planning solutions for that area. The concern that I have is water as we go. We have left that alone for a while. I would suggest that maybe people from EBID and the university would come forth and give us some explanations on the availability of water and the integrity of the water. These are key issues for development, and I think that that's my suggestion. I don't know how to go about doing that, but I leave that up to the Director of Planning and Zoning.
I would suggest that after the first meeting of the new year, we schedule a work session on those first two topics. So I don't know, do we have a date for that first meeting of 2023?
I believe it's January 12th, but let me double check. But just so the commission's aware, we pretty much have full agendas for the month of January already. Yeah, I think we're anticipating.
Well, what I'm thinking is the off week.
Okay.
The week after the 12th, we have the 19th. We have a work session with just those two items on the agenda. Okay.
All right. Are we going to be? Will we be meeting in December again?
No.
This is the last meeting of the year, right?
For this month, yes. You guys get a break.
And then the 12th will be the annual meeting, besides whatever agenda items you have.
Mm-hmm.
Can't believe I've spent another year with you guys.
I do want to point something out. From what we've heard from all the solar companies is January 31st is like their drop dead date for them to be in the system, to have any type of approval already. So a lot of the cases that we have for January is just some of those companies trying to get in there in the last minute. Because that's when I think the state closes it up to the companies.
So 40 statewide, they haven't allocated anything by region, so we don't know if there's going to be 1 or 10 down here. Okay, and how many of these things have we approved?
Do you have a ballpark figure, Shar? I mean, it's at least 10 here that we've done at the P&Z, and probably a little bit more at the administrative level.
Are they getting similar numbers up north, do you think?
I'm not, no, I haven't checked with other counties.
Okay.
Valencia County, I think they said they had 100.
Okay. Good morning, Judge Macias.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
Good afternoon.
You got 5 minutes.
I think, anything else? We good? Okay, we'll
Oh,
stand.
I just want to wish everybody here a wonderful holiday season and a Merry Christmas and all that going into the new year if I don't see the rest of you between now and then.
Which will make you happy.
You are all wonderful.
That's our Christmas present.
Oh, no, not at all. No, not at all. I really appreciate being here and thank you. Y'all are very wonderful gentlemen to work with and ladies too. Thank you.
It's been a good year.
And lastly, I have one last order before you leave, please.
All right.
Thank you.
We stand adjourned.